So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminski Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about how to put your brand strategy into action. We're going to give you 3 things that a great brand strategy should deliver for your business and give you some actionable steps on how to get started with your brand strategy. So I want to introduce a dear friend of mine. He has been on the show before, my man Brett Brown from Blazing Glory. What is going on, my dude? Oh, I lost your audio, dude.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Back in.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Things are off to a great start. It's it's Wednesday. It's good. No, things are going great, man. It's there's a lot of stuff happening as the world starts turning back on right now.
Oh yeah.
It's an interesting time.
Yeah.
How have you been?
I'm doing awesome, man. Doing awesome. I cannot wait to get into this conversation because there's as you and I know, there's brand strategists for days out there on social media these days. And I'm not sure if people are getting inundated with or confused on what brand strategy is. How does it fit into business? How do you use it? Is it worth it? Does it make sense? Why can't I just get a logo done without brand strategy? All of these questions are running through a business owner's mind who doesn't necessarily have the background in branding that you and I do. So I wanted to shed some light on what great brand strategy is, how it's put into action, and some actionable steps that our listeners today and viewers, those folks that are watching live, feel free to jump in the comments and interact with us today. And we'll make sure that we highlight you and bring any questions that you may have to the table and get those answers for you to the best of our ability. So that's sort of how I want to use the next 30 to 45 minutes, if you will, is to dive deep into this and break this down. So let's start with number 1. Okay. What's one of the 3 things that great brand strategy should be able to deliver for your business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first, I guess before jumping in too hard to that, just real quick is, no, this is a great conversation right now, just because, as you mentioned, there's so many brand strategists all over the internet right now. But I think everywhere, one theme that you're seeing in marketing and branding and sort of in a lot of different businesses that are meant to help guide any size business that you business owner might have, brand strategy tends to get undervalued and overlooked, because like you said, people just want to skip ahead. So I think that's why I'm especially excited to talk about what to look for as a business owner when, you either invest in a brand strategy or you have one and use one. So I think one thing that a lot of people, I'm going to skip past the things that you would expect a brand strategy to do, which is to inform something like a logo so that you don't just have a pretty font or whatever. So you have something considered. Mm-hmm. But really, ultimately, when you talk about a brand, that is who you are as a business. Your business personified is the brand. And so branding is the act of making that more human. And so the first thing that you really want to look for that I don't think enough people pay attention to is you want to make sure that brand strategy can and is informing business decisions. And that means so the way that the way that you grow your business, the way that you create new SKUs, new products, new R&D, new HR policies, all those decisions, all those internal decisions that guide the growth of your business, if you're applying those through the lens of brand strategy, then not only should those decisions be a certain percent easier, but also they start making the business actions that you take functions of branding. And so in that sense, everything you do becomes an ad, right? Everything you do becomes an ad for your business. And you see that a lot with, certain corporate policies that make it out into the world of like, oh, so-and-so, they really stand behind this thing, or these people have a really great approach to R&D, or these people, they really let people in. And all that's born from brand strategy, your brand ethos, what you're here to do.
I love that. We got a live listener, Bob Bonial, saying all design needs context and intention. Whether it's designing a brand, designing a logo, or designing a client project, brand strategy is the context and intention for growing business. I love that. Great. Well said, Bob.
Yeah. That's a really nice way to put it. Yeah. And so in that sense, that's a great way to think about. That's why you need a very strong strategy to help you guide those business decisions, and so yeah, everything you do now has context of the brand, context of the story you're telling, context of the world you're building. So then it should impact distribution strategies, like where and how, if you're a physical goods, like how you ship those things, or if you're an app, how you how you're downloaded, how you get to devices, all those different things should be informed at some level from, is this the right thing for this mission that I'm on, or this person that I want to be?
That's fantastic. It just reminded me this morning, I was on my walk and I was getting this DM on Instagram from one of my colleagues that I met on Clubhouse, and she was like, yes, I'm coming on your podcast. It's been a while since I got that link from you, because I've been in the process of rebranding myself. And she goes, it also, what sparked this rebrand was actually us on a Clubhouse call 2 months ago. And I was talking about rebranding, and she goes, it just triggered something in me. And I was like, you know what? Now's the time. So she sends me the link to the rebranded site, and she goes, what do you think? And I said, well, who are you serving? Who is your ideal client? Because I don't have anything to say about the logo if I don't know who it's for. I can't say anything about the website or the color scheme or the typography or the messaging unless I know who it's for. And it was interesting. I mean, the aesthetic was beautiful, but I didn't have the time to really dive into deeper questions. But we get that all the time as branders, is, let me know what you think of this. Well, it means nothing unless I know who it's for and what it's trying to do and its purpose and its, and all of that stuff and what you're trying to accomplish with it. Right. And if I don't know that, then I really can't give any sort of sound feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that's all the kind of stuff that you really, that's the basics of what you want a brand strategy, brand level stuff to do. And that's where, in advertising, typically, like, we might come in later and have to come up with a campaign strategy or marketing strategy that really makes up for a brand strategy that's not really either meaningfully different from any other business, or there's no real strong, captivating thing there that drives just a larger story that you're telling.
Right.
And then that's why the brands that do it so well, there's a handful of them and they're referenced so often, But yeah, I think that's why number one is informing business decisions. Like it even makes sense for like who you get into bed with as a business. Like Target is a good example of, it really affects who their collaborators are, how they were one of the first ones to sort of democratize fashion, really. and like and you saw like all these people like with lines out the door for like Missoni and all these other brands that they work with. And yeah, there was a article, like organic article the other day that just I came across that was like, oh yeah, Target's doing it again. They're working with so-and-so for this new line that's coming out. Here's how they're ahead of the trend and they're helping that stuff happen. So again, it all affects, how you as a business should shape your business based on the brand. Starbucks, great example, how they weathered the pandemic with what's typically known as the strongest CRM app out there, which is a Starbucks app. The way they keep you engaged, the way they gamify drinking a coffee and all that fun stuff. But they were able, because they had that system built, they were able to pivot so quickly into, especially here in New York where I live, it's they were able to pivot really quickly to, you could order your coffee and then go pick it up waiting for you outside the table, So then like they had minimal interruption to the business as businesses were starting to get really, really impacted early on. They were one of the first ones to like, oh, cool. Like we can go for a walk down the block and grab a Starbucks and come back and still be responsible. Yeah.
See that? We have a great question here from Dr. Graffo. Tomorrow I'm going to get an interview with a prospect that wants a personal brand. She loves my work that I recently put out on Facebook. I'm really excited, but guys, I don't know how much to charge. So the reason why I wanted to highlight this is a great brand strategy should be able to help you determine that with ease, quite frankly.
Yep.
Right? So you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. It's funny. So there's a really old anecdote, and now I've forgotten the name of it, but there's an old anecdote whenever you're starting to learn advertising that they talk about price points having perceptions on the brand as a whole. Like if you're a premium brand or if you're a mass market, brand, whatever it is, like you want to make sure that you're priced accordingly and you price according to what you want to be. Even if you absolutely need the job and you need to offer a discount, it's always a discount on a more premium service if that's what it is. But the example is, whenever, I think it was Brute aftershave or something similar, like whenever they launched into the stores way, way back in the day, they were, they didn't need to price themselves super high because they could make the aftershave really inexpensively. But it didn't sell at all because people saw it as a really cheap throwaway product. And so they rose the offering, like they rose the cost of what it was, the price point. And yeah, suddenly it's a brand that persists to CVS and Walgreens today. It's, one of those like OG aftershaves that people still have, but it's, that's a good example of, yeah, I think there's that's a long way of saying there's also no one answer. It depends on who you are as a brand, right? Like if you have a really premium and service that has a lot to it, and you offer all of these different things, and you're building a brand strategy that equips somebody to be able to actually make meaningful decisions off of this, and you're making their business more efficient, then I think the question is, what is that efficiency worth to a business? What is being 10, 20, 30% more efficient over the lifespan of your business worth? And then figuring it out from there. But also you got to make sure you deliver on it.
Oh,
so I think it's twofold.
Hands down. You better deliver. There's too many people out there that are under promising and or over promising and under delivering. That would be some of the things that I would ask this potential client is, why do you want a personal brand developed out? That's one. Number two, I would ask, to your point, what is the value of this to you? What kind of revenue do you want to generate in the next year with this personal brand? And then what percentage of that are you comfortable and willing and able to invest to see that through? And so I would let the client kind of tell you, and then you can gauge whether or not you take the job on. Because if they're trying to make $1 million and they're only willing to spend $5,000, I'm just throwing numbers out there, it seems very disproportionate, right? So pay attention to that and ask the client what their perception of value is, and what they want their personal brand to do for them, and then take it from there. And then that conversation is going to uncover quite a bit. So just to wrap this up, for number one, a great brand strategy should help you inform business. Okay. Yeah. Decisions. And we talked about growth strategies, how we're going to grow the brand, products. What products are we going to develop? What products may we discontinue? Yeah. And then how do we distribute those products accordingly? Yeah. Okay. So that's,
great example is, right now the guy that's super divisive, and I have zero opinion. I could give a shit about the guy, but Elon Musk, he has, looking at him, for people that are interested in personal brands, he certainly has his own personal brand, that he's, that bore the companies, Tesla, SpaceX, and Boring Company. But all three of those are separate entities because they're in different conversations. Those are fundamentally separate brands that would do different things. Like SpaceX burns a ton of fuel. It's like a hydrocarbon fuel giant. Like, it has a completely different mission than Tesla does, which, Tesla can make cars. It can make battery packs for houses. It can make solar tiles on roofs, because like that whole point is to lower those emissions. And so in that sense, like, those are companies that, as a business owner, if you have a strong point of view and a strong strategy, what conversation or what purpose you have in the world, then that's a great point. You know what to do, and just as important, what not to do.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get into the next 2 points right after this quick little break. If you're a business owner who feels your branding isn't truly representing the value that you deliver, check out this free video training that will help you level up your brand's messaging and online presence so that you can start attracting higher quality clients. Visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net/level up my branding. All right, guys. So we are back, and let's talk about the next piece that a great brand strategy should deliver for a business. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think this one we could probably touch on quickly and move off of it, but really it's I think it's important just because, again, I come from B&G. We do a little bit of all of it, right? From branding to, growth strategy, business, all that stuff. And then also the later stage stuff like marketing and advertising and growing and finding other non-traditional ways to get you, famous and move culture as a business. But yeah, it's the thing that you want a brand strategy to do, that the whole reason why, what really drove me personally to really dig into brand strategy was there tends to be a massive disconnect. Like in all the 15 plus years I've been doing advertising, there's only been a handful of times that whenever we're briefed on a campaign that I've ever had a brand strategy come across my desk and have it actually impact the campaign. Usually as creatives, like, you look at the business itself, the way it behaves, and you're looking for those truths that are inherent to culture and the moments, and sort of trying to connect something that's a true thing that you can live in for that campaign. But all of that happens so much more efficiently and effectively as a business. And I know I'm using like the least sexy words as a creative. Efficiency is awesome. But yeah, it's true. So the second thing is really guiding marketing decisions and guiding the marketing itself. And in that sense, you want your brand strategy to inform all of that. I think whenever people go through a rebrand or a refresh or a new branding exercise, that'll usually strongly impact marketing for the first year or so. And then it'll be quickly abandoned and just be thrown as like a fancy poster in the office, which, there's a fancy manifesto. We stand for these 6 core values. And that's why we only drink tea here and not coffee. I don't know. But it's so I think it's important when we look at this stuff, to look at these things as a long lasting guiding set of principles and just ways to be more human. Again, just making it simple on yourself, like just ways to personify the brand over time. And so we're talking about more than just tone of voice, more than just a, personality test or one-dimensional traits. These are things that, impact, right? It should impact every single marketing thing that you do, and everything is a function of marketing. Again, it's your website, your whatever products you have, the packaging on those products. Again, where you see it at the campaign level is something like Old Spice, like as much as that was traditional advertising. If you go to the store, you can read the back of, you can read like a copyright, the same copywriters that were writing the commercials are the same ones that are doing the product packaging, and same thing for brands like Nike, same thing for Apple. Like when you would go into the stores, all those things, like those are, all of that is connected by a through line of a strong brand strategy that guides all those different marketing decisions. And so in that sense, again, marketing is still a function of business decisions, arguably, but again, it's giving you those things that go beyond just the expected, color palette, tone of voice, those things. It absolutely has to impact those. That's why I'm not discounting that stuff. Like, of course, you want all of that to have a deeper meaning and a deeper truth and come from something that's unique to you. And so that way you stand out, and that way you have something strong to build off of and leverage, and you can provide new context for that logo through different campaigns over the course of a brand. There's so many different brands that have good examples of that. Nike, for instance, the different ways that they make Just Do It make sense as a line, and that ethos of everybody as an athlete, and the way that they make sense of that brand strategy gives it new context and new dimension over time. But that all came from a really strong brand strategy that affects every single piece of media that they create. And so that's why, again, like marketing decisions, and also like when you market and who you market to, how you mentioned earlier, you can't really do much if you don't know who you're talking to.
Right.
And so I think as a business owner, you should look at critically, does this give you different ways into that audience? Mm-hmm. So, okay, cool. We know that we can reach them if we say these, if we're talking to people with, it's a luxury brand, and we're talking to, mass affluent people. We're talking to rich people in, the coastal, cities, people who like to go out and art and wine and all that stuff. So we're talking to those things. Does this brand strategy help you find new ways into those? Again, Audi is a good example. A long time ago, whenever they started really upping their game on product design, like the design of the car, they are still the only car that was in art museums, and so they reached the audience that they wanted to reach, and they were a piece of modern art. The gas gauge, the gas tank, what is it, the lid thing, it became iconic. It's a piece of art, and that came from looking at your brand and saying, yeah, we're not a car, we make works of art. We don't make cars, we don't make X, we make Y. We're not in the business of X, we're in the business of Y. And so when you look at a brand that way, then all of a sudden you have a whole new way to reach the same audience in a way that nobody else in the same, product category would dare to do. Yeah. And that's important. Like, you want to look for brand strategies that quickly, as a business owner, you can say, oh, cool, there's all these different ways I am now seeing my brand in a new light. And that's a good indicator of a creative partner, a creative agency, a creative service, in-house talent, whatever you have, will be able to take that brand strategy and find other ways in too, if you're already seeing those things. So you want to look at those. And again, I think ultimately when we talk about guiding marketing decisions, I'm cheating a little bit on number 2, but does it make your business decisions into marketing decisions?
Right.
You know, like, does it combine the two worlds of marketing and business so you can't really tell them apart? Like, again, it's Tom's shoes is less about shoes and more about a mission to, help people have basic comforts of a shoe, or I forget the socks that are on every podcast that everybody advertises now. It's whatever those socks are. It's and so like the buy a pair, donate a pair, and that's your brand strategy saying, cool, we believe this is what we believe. This is who we want to be in the world. We really stand behind this. This is one way we're going to do this. And that's a distribution strategy, but that's also your marketing.
Yeah.
And so then it blurs those lines between what is an ad and what isn't an ad. And I think that's really important because then you're building consistency. You're walking the talk, like you're about the thing you say you're about.
Yeah. And I think it really helps distill a great brand strategy, really helps distill your messaging into something that's really laser sharp. We just recently worked with a meal kit company out in California, and beautiful story, big Greek family in the restaurant business for 20, 30 years. And they were slapped upside down when the pandemic hit. And the son of the company said, I'm not going to lay down here. I see the way the world is changing. I see the meal kit companies. I see the way people are consuming food. I see the way the world is pivoting. So I am going to jump on this wave while I still have a shot. But I'm going to bring in a new flair. And if you know anything about Greek people, that they're extremely, extremely family oriented. And as I was doing the brand strategy with this client, the word family kept coming up. The other thought was, well, yes, these meal kit companies are for the particular client that he was going after were the busy moms. And so when you have 2 or 3 kids, I have 1 and I'm busy. Brett has 2 and it could get crazy really, really fast. Right. But, busy moms that are lacking time, right? They love these meal kits. I mean, my wife is subscribed. We subscribe to all of them to check them all out, but we got our favorites. But we found a little corner of the market that none of these other bigger meal kit companies are talking about, and that's family, right? Yeah. And so, you could create phenomenal memories in the kitchen, and you could do it in a way that is fun without a lot of mess, and you don't need to know how to cook. And so as we were diving into this strategy, we learned more and more that our real core differentiator is that we're so family oriented, not only inside of our business, but outside of our business. And so we came up with a really cool brand strategy statement where the meal kits are made with love, not time. Because the cool thing was the way that they prepare this food is all through boiled water. So all the food comes in these Loctite sealed bags, and literally all you have to do is boil water and stick the bag in the boiled water, and then within 10 minutes you have a plated meal. So, made with love, not time was a brand strategy statement that we distilled under all of that strategy work that we did with the client. And so being able to differentiate ourselves that way with such sharp, precise messaging is going to forward our marketing decisions later on. Because if it doesn't, if the marketing decisions don't revolve around what I just said, then they don't take place. So some great stuff there I wanted to share. All right. So we got one more, and we actually have We actually have one more question from Dr. Graffo. He says, do you think that emotions drive the purpose of the brands? Do you think that emotions drive the purpose of the brands? It's a tough one.
I would. Oh, So when we talk about the purpose of the brands, that's an interesting one. I think that there's a difference between purpose is an interesting one. A lot of people define that word differently.
Mm-hmm.
I would say everything should be emotionally resonant. Like if it doesn't actually make you feel any sort of way, then you've succeeded at wasting everybody's time and money.
It's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, and that's why. I mean, honestly, that's why I got into advertising, because like there's so much out there that I'm just like, there's so much boring stuff in the world. There's so much safe, boring things in the world that's just like, why? Like every time I would go to a basketball game, or every time I'm driving around LA where I was from, it was you see this stuff on the sides of buildings, and it's like they're on the sides of the courts and all that stuff, and people just pay to put their logo on there. It doesn't add any value to the world. You've done nothing to make me care about you. You've succeeded in making me aware of you, but I don't have any emotional connection to you. Right. Versus if you tell me a story, if you actually take a stand or you do something, whether you make me laugh, you make me cry, you make me feel inspired, you make me feel more capable, you challenge me, piss me off. Mm-hmm. Like if you make me care, then I will either love or hate you. And that's where brands succeed. That's the difference between a mass brand like Microsoft that plays it very safe and a brand that you're either hot or cold on Apple. Like you are either to the point they were able to do a whole campaign. I'm a Mac and I'm a PC, but there's people out there who are just like out of one of my clients the other day was just out of spite. His wife uses Apple products. He's like, out of spite, I won't go to that OS because I know it's a really good OS, but it's, I can't, I like my PC stuff, and so again, it becomes a defining trait for who you are. You have an emotional connection to a brand, and that's a brand being successful in, again, just becoming more human. Like humans, there's very few people out there who you're just like, oh, whatever. I could give her, like, especially if you get to know somebody and you want to welcome them into your life, like if there's a boring person that's just vanilla and just make you fall asleep super easy, like that's not a person you invite back to the party. That's not a person you invite into your house. That's not, come here. And that's a good way to think about brands. So absolutely, emotions are everything. Purpose, I would just say, the movie Soul did a really good job of differentiating, like your life's purpose versus, your passion, right? Like what you're here to do, what you're put on this planet to do, why this business exists versus, enjoying playing piano. Like playing piano is a passion. It's not a purpose. Mm-hmm. You weren't put on this earth to play piano. You weren't put on the meal kit company isn't here to, deliver boiled foods faster. It's here to give everybody, the immediacy and care of a home cooked meal prepared by a loved one, and that resonates so hard. Immediately I can take that brand strategy and applying it to marketing now. Because think about how clutch family came in during the pandemic. If you were fortunate enough, I mean, we're in New York and our family is in mostly Los Angeles, but it's, anybody who was fortunate enough to have a big family, you're able to offload the kids. You're able to find time for yourself. You're able to find more sanity versus if you don't have that, like cooking is an event every single day. And it's a huge undertaking, especially if it's just you. Like sometimes you don't want to order out and you want to have a home cooked meal, and there's that intimacy that comes with it. So again, I think that's that's a really good example of an emotional way in to make you care about a thing that's otherwise just boiled meat.
Right.
We'll call it sous vide. So we'll chef it up a little bit.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's but yeah, and in that and then we can get into product specifics, but it also affects like now that if they wanted to make timers, they can make timers. If they wanted to make other things, like there's so many new SKUs they could have as a business based on that brand strategy that would still make sense and strengthen their narrative rather than dilute it.
Yes.
And like it wouldn't make sense for them to suddenly, create a meal born from just science then, or to create something that makes a meal take super long and cumbersome. Like Blue Apron makes you cook it because they want you to have the joy of cooking. They want you to have that chef experience. That's a totally different thing. They're apples and oranges now. Now they're not as strong or direct a competitor. So yeah, I think it's long way of saying number 2 is marketing decisions. All that's a really nice way to dovetail into the third one that I wanted to touch on, which is just how the third important thing that's important in a brand strategy is that it's used properly. Like you as a business, you can invest $50, $100, $300, $500,000 in a brand strategy, whatever you want to charge for it. If you're a $100 million company and you want $1 million for brand strategy, and that's still just like, 1% of, let's call it, gross revenue, whatever, and you're reinvesting a portion of your marketing budget back into brand strategy, you're going to evolve it, it's worthless if you don't use it. It means nothing if you don't actually use it. If you just put it in your HR packets and you use it to feel good about yourself as a business owner, then you're wasting your money. Like just go out there and, do direct marketing at that stage. It won't make anybody build a strong emotional connection to you, but you'll get good ROI. For brand strategy, it's a less direct one-to-one for returns. I tend to talk about it and think about it like you're building efficiency with your business in a good brand strategy. But yeah, if you don't use it properly, then you don't get that out of it. So I think it's really important that you look at this thing and again, going back to the larger theme that's happening in the industry is there's so many people out here who are delivering brand strategies without putting in, the right qualitative research, getting to actually know those human insights and starting to think about like, what is a truth that this brand can lean into? What is it? What really makes this thing stand out? What's a place in culture where this can carve out its own, space and be its own new thing versus just like using raw data or even just Googling shit or making stuff up and just like, oh, cool, this is cool. But again, the difference between a $5 and a, $100,000 brand strategy is negligible if you're not putting it into action. If you're not using it to functionally drive growth strategy, if you're not functionally using it to drive business, to drive marketing, to drive, all those decisions you're making, if you don't use it to create action and you're just using it as a function of just like, fancy copywriting or storytelling, or, just surface level stuff, then you're not really taking full advantage over the power of a good brand strategy.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that we do in our brand strategy workshops is we prioritize our clients' revenue goals, awareness goals, efficiency goals, funnel goals, communication goals. And we have a really cool, unique way of prioritizing all of that. It takes a little bit of math. So, but it is a great way to throw everything on the table and figure out, okay, this makes sense that this goes first. This makes sense that this goes second, third, and fourth. But we have it broken down into categories because like you said, Brett, if you're not taking action on this stuff and you're just putting it on a shelf, then what are you doing? And I love your point to the direct marketing piece. I think direct marketing, you'll get a quick or punchy ROI on that, but what about it long term? Does it say about your business, right? And you talk about
you create a beast that needs to be fed over and
over.
You don't have any. You're not generating momentum behind it. So like,
right,
campaign A doesn't make campaign B any more effective or stronger. Right. Versus when you think of brands, if I say think of a brand you love, anybody listening or watching this right now can, something pops in your head. What's a brand you identified with? Something that you have loved since. What's something when you were a teenager? What's something you loved as a teenager? Right?
I can't win today with the gutter cleaner guys. I really can't.
But yeah, I mean, it's typically it's a brand that satisfies all those things. It's they did something differently. I mean, for me, it was I've loved Adult Swim since its infancy. On Cartoon Network, I remember when they first launched. It was this really weird after hours thing, but like who they were as a brand was different from Cartoon Network, and it affected their programming schedule on stuff. They created this whole like bumps were suddenly important and people were talking about them, the next day. It started becoming like the early on memes. Like it was all those stuff. And now as you get into marketing decisions, it affects like how they show up at South by Southwest or Comic-Con, like back when people used to go outside. They had really phenomenal experiential stuff. The Rickmobile is insane. Like we wouldn't have all these things that have really impacted culture for better or worse. I mean, that's personal opinions aside. It's, but personally, I love Rick and Morty, but yeah, you wouldn't have that if not for that brand that gave birth to it. Adult Swim that also did like Off the Air, which is their own like little pet project of just weird, really cool video collage stuff. But again, it's, those things are just knowing who you are. Some people just do it naturally, right? Some businesses and brands know who they are and they just operate off of instinct. But for the most part, it's important to have that stuff done tactically. And I think to your point, that's again, that goes back to what I do too, which is, you want to look at what are the business challenges? What are the communications challenges?
Yep.
What are these really complex challenges we're trying to overcome here? Mm-hmm. And then coming at brand strategy from somebody who's spent so long being screwed over by either a lack of or a bad brand strategy, you get down to years later and you're finally doing ads and campaigns. It's, you want to be built for that stuff. You want to be built for the long haul. So you don't end up doing rebrands and refreshes and 20 years in or 10 years or 5 years in, you do the super expensive rebrand because now you can afford it and now you're willing to invest. And what you do is you cannibalize all that momentum and success you've had.
Yeah.
And you have to spend your way back up that mountain.
Yeah.
You have to, it's like, again, like you see it all the time. It's why I help a lot of startups because I get so bummed seeing all the missed opportunities.
Yeah.
You have some of these people who have really phenomenal, amazing, creative, beautiful ideas, and they really build so much stuff just by being so different and just being who they are, but they're not able to express that externally. They're not able to connect who they are to their business decisions because they separate those. They put them in silos. It's like, oh, well, we have standard, practices over here for for how we write our HR policies or how we, do our office org charts or how we, go to market. All those things we use best practices for those. It's not really affected by like the cool thing we're doing over here that everybody loves.
Right.
Well, why wouldn't you connect the thing everybody loves to everything else that you do so that everything you do now people can love more about you?
Right.
I think it's that simple. And so it just goes back to knowing what the finish line looks like so you can, you can run the marathon accordingly. It's not a sprint.
Yeah. And knowing why you're starting as well. I had my cousin on a few episodes back and he is the third generation of the family business. So my great uncle started this real estate development company, and his son took it over. My second cousin, and now his son is now taking over the business. This business has been in business for 75 years.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't go through multiple rebrands because they knew who the hell they were from the beginning. And my great uncle said this: if we're going to build anything, we're going to build it right, and we're going to build it to last.
Yeah.
And that was it. And so everything fell underneath that umbrella, and you could tell all the products they use are A-rate. All of the labor that they use are A-rate. I mean, the building, you could clearly differentiate one of my uncle's buildings from a random building because he has that touch, and that has been dripped down for generations. And so, as I continue to grow and build my brand, my question is, will this be a generational brand where my son may be of interest of this and take this over and run with it and do his thing with it? You know, and that is a really interesting question to have. And the answer is yes, I would love for him. Now, he doesn't have to do that, but I want the business to be here for him to have that option. Yeah. And so a lot of the driving decisions that I make today are going to reflect what comes tomorrow. Yeah. And again, like that could be, for you think of companies that have lasted for decades and decades. Yeah. And it's certainly, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah. The way we put it is like, we want to build brands that are meant to outlive their founders, and that's the way that you should be seeing this as an investment. Like a brand strategy, you shouldn't be reapproaching. Like marketing strategies, sure. Campaign strategies, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But brand strategy should be something that's like really built and distilled down from a lot of the temporary things and really just finessed every so often. But it should be who you are, you know? Amen. And like, and that's again, it's all of this is to make a brand more human and more something that you can actually, get to know better and you want to welcome into your life. And so I think it's why it's an important investment, but I'm not here to just talk people to like spend more money on this stuff. I think what's most important is that you know what to look for and you know how to use it as a business owner. Right. And while I'm certainly a fan of things both of us do, it's, I think there's a lot of ways out there that you want to look at, I would challenge any business owner that's using this now to really look again at their brand strategy and really look again at their brand and see, is it something that you not even are yet? Like, is it something that you can use to guide business decisions? Is it something that you can use to guide multiple marketing decisions across media and across campaigns and, across culture shifts? Are you using it to do those? Are you using it properly? Are you using it to inform your go-to-market strategies, your growth, your all those different business strategies and all those different things that you're doing? Are you actually putting it into action and getting your money's worth and getting your value? Yeah. Because it's something that can have a profound impact on their trajectory of a business. Well, listen, at the end of the day, I always say this: the quickest way to get slaughtered out there is to go to market without a plan, go to market without a strategy. See what happens. You might have been able to get away with that shit 20 years ago, but the world has evolved in such a dramatic fashion where you go out there and you're going to get clipped so quick because you don't have a plan. You don't have a strategy to actually maneuver. And that's a big problem. And product isn't a strategy. No. Like again, a funnel isn't a strategy. Yeah. It's a function of marketing. It's a thing you make now, but like, what is it? That's why I said soul is a really great thing of like the difference in purpose and passion. Like, again, it's what do you do versus who you are. Yes. Right. Like, what is the point of Uber? Hell if I know. They've spent a lot of money trying to answer that question,
but ultimately they were a ride sharing service, and they were like, we're going to disrupt. We're so disruptive, But then like now Lyft came, and suddenly like they're causing more traffic than they alleviate, and they create more. Like, so not only are like they're bad for the planet, they're bad for cities, but like they're also not different. They don't serve a higher function that makes you want to choose one over the other. So suddenly are they faster, cleaner, cheaper than Lyft? And that's where you get into that's the wrong place to be.
That's a piss and match.
Yeah, then you better be the biggest one. You better be Walmart or Amazon.
Right.
Because otherwise you're never going to compete.
Right.
And those people will just end up making what you make. Like, look at Amazon Essentials.
Exactly.
You don't have to look far for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Brett, we got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Dude, what an awesome conversation. We're going to be doing this more often, guys. We're going to probably schedule this to him and I to chop it up probably every other week, so you'll get a taste of our conversations. We do a lot of work behind the scenes.
We'll keep it tighter next time.
Yeah. Well, but listen, we like to talk about this stuff. Yeah, this is what we do.
Yeah.
So, Brett, appreciate you, man. And guys,
thank you.
Feel free to take a screenshot of this podcast episode or this video and share it with me on Instagram by tagging me in your Instagram story. I will repost that and give you a huge shout out over there on Instagram. And if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and to click that little bell button to make sure that you get notified when we do these live streams. I do these quite often over on that channel. And again, guys, if you're listening on the podcast channels, make sure that you leave a quick little review and or subscribe, because that is the juice, that is the flame to this fire that we constantly want to put out for you. So have an amazing day, guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode real soon.
Hey everyone, this is Henry Kaminski Jr. again, and really quick, I want to invite you to a one-on-one consult with me right now if you're looking for the clarity and focus you need to build your brand. Over the past 13 years, I've served hundreds of entrepreneurs that have great products but struggled tremendously with articulating its value to their ideal customers. You didn't get into business to just change a few lives, did you? Your ideal clients need you. And when your brand has precision-crafted messaging coupled with beautifully thoughtful design that sounds, looks, and feels like you, they'll know you're the perfect match for them. If this is something you're struggling with, what I want you to do right now is pause this audio and go visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, and book your one-on-one consult call with me. Remember, the quality of your brand will determine the quality of your clients, and the quality of your clients will determine the quality of your life.